everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Lucy. I'm going to be recommending some swoon-worthy, steamy romance reads for you this Valentine's Day. So whether or not you are single, in a relationship, whatever your situation is, I really recommend reading romance on Valentine's Day and getting in the season of love. And I really believe that there is a romance book out there for everyone. So I really wanted to recommend a range of different romance books for you today. There hopefully will be at least one book from this recommendations video that is perfect for you. And I've really tried to think about different types of romance that hopefully everyone will love. So let's just get cracking, shall we? Because I have some 10 out of 10 romances for you this season. My first recommendation being my queen, Lisa Kleypas. Now, Lisa Kleypas is a historical romance author. She writes Regency and Victorian romances, and when I tell you that I'm low-key obsessed with Lisa Kleypas, like, you all know this. If you watched my channel before, if you've watched all of my kind of historical romance or Regency romance recommendations before, you will know the depths of my love for Lisa Kleypas books. So if you've never read Lisa Kleypas and you want a swoon-worthy, completely sweep you off your feet romance series to binge around Valentine's Day, then this series is definitely for you. So I would love to recommend the Wallflowers series and the Ravenels series. So these are connected series. Start with the Wallflowers series, then go on to the Ravenels. Basically, these are like Regency Victorian romances. And the first book in the Wallflowers series is Secrets of a Summer Night. And what is so great about each of these series is that it takes a group of friends in the Wallflowers and a family in the Ravenels and gives every single one of them their own romances in each book of this series. So it's kind of like Bridgerton. It's that Regency romance kind of like style where within each book there is going to be a happily ever after, and it takes each person in a group in turn and gives them their happily ever after. So why should you read these series on Valentine's Day? Well, I'm a big historical romance fan. There is something about mixing historical fiction and romance together that makes for a very escapist read. And if you're looking for something that is just purely romantic with a little bit of steam in there as well, then these series by Lisa Kleypas will be the ones for you. Now, the next book I really want to recommend for something quirky and fun this Valentine's Day with kind of a bit of magical realism is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So One Last Stop is kind of like a time slip romance where basically it is about a girl who lives in New York, and one day on the subway she meets this girl from the 80s, and this girl from the 80s can't get off the subway. Like, she is trapped in time there, and this blossoms into a beautiful queer love story. So One Last Stop is utterly like adorable. Like, their bond is really cute. They kind of bond over like music, and like, you know, they're both having their own issues, I guess. And what's really unique is obviously the fact that it is a kind of time slip romance where there is a girl from the 1980s who's stuck there. Them kind of negotiating the differences between 80s and present day is really fun. And of course there is that romance at the heart of it, which, oh my god, is so perfect, so cute, so adorable. There is like a little dash of spice in here, a little bit of steam, but not too much. Like, it's not taking over the page. This is actually an incredible plot-driven story about why she's kind of stuck on the train and how, you know, how are they going to have their love story if she can't get off the train. You know, there's a lot to think about there. So if you're looking for a romance that's a little bit different, a little bit quirky, adorable, very cute and funny, but also with a bit of magic in there, this is the perfect book for you. Okay, my next recommendation is something quite different again. This is historical romance set in the 1920s, kind of in the Gatsby era, but set in Cornwall. And this is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. Now, I read this book when I was in Cornwall, and oh my god, was this book completely breathtaking, bewitching, utterly charming, so gorgeous. So this book is following a girl called Lou, who is a local. She lives in Cornwall, and near where she lives is this island, this kind of big house on this big island that only becomes accessible at certain times of the day. It's basically a causeway inspired by St. Michael's Mount in Cornwall, if any of you guys have been there. I actually went whilst reading this book, and it was like lovely to see how it was inspired by that. But basically the family moved back to the house, this big house, and they are a very aristocratic family, and Lou is caught trespassing essentially on their island, and she meets a man called Robert and suddenly becomes very good friends with Robert's sister. So Lou soon becomes entangled in this world of luxury, of like crazy parties, like 1920s glamour, but obviously she isn't from that world. And at the heart of this is like I guess a mystery as well. Like there's a mystery about the family and what happened to kind of like their parents and stuff, like Robert and his sister, but also the love story at the heart of this is between Lou and Robert, and that kind of like obviously from different classes, and oh, it's just absolutely stunning. I absolutely adored this book. So if you want something breathtaking, very, very kind of like romantic for Valentine's Day, like this is a very romantic book, you know, it's not steamy, this is YA, so if you're wanting a cleaner romance, this is perfect for you. But genuinely, I fell in love with this book, and I think you will too. Okay, so something quite different. For those of you who are looking for a bit of steam this Valentine's Day, and you want to read something that'll get your heart racing, this series will definitely do that. So in the past year, I've really like been discovering dark romance and kind of romances that are a bit more taboo and kind of break boundaries and stuff like that. And I discovered The Cat and Mouse Duet by C.L. Carlton, I think the author's name is. Basically, the first book is Haunting Adeline, the second book is Hunting Adeline. Now, Haunting Adeline is a stalker romance, and please bear with me if you don't think that's your type of thing. I agree, it sounds very extreme, and it is very extreme, it's very dark. There are some like very extreme scenes in this book, like trigger warnings galore for a lot of things. This book features kind of like trafficking, a lot of other dark stuff, but at the heart of it is this kind of like irresistible romance that obviously the main character is getting stalked by this man, but despite how kind of creepy it is, like you can't help but root for them. It is a very, very steamy romance. Like I kind of was a bit shocked by a lot of the scenes, but actually by the end of the second book, I was obsessed with this series because it just goes beyond kind of what I ever thought a book could go into, you know? So I really would recommend this book if you're looking for something a bit more extreme and shocking, but still romantic and still kind of like, there is this kind of like undeniable chemistry between the two characters. So a little bit of a trigger warning there, like does feature some very adult scenes. There's a lot of steam, no holding back. So if you want something a bit different this Valentine's Day, then I would recommend that series. Now going for something a little bit different, I've got another historical romance here, and this is a proof copy of a book called One Night in Heartswood by Emma Denny. Now, little disclaimer, because I do work for the publisher who publishes this book, and that's how I've gotten this proof essentially. So One Night in Heartswood is set in the 1300s in England, basically in Oxfordshire, and it features two kind of aristocratic gentlemen, I guess, one of whom is escaping from an arranged marriage to the sister of the guy that he happens to be kind of like on the run with. So basically this is a forced proximity romance, hidden identities. They don't know who the other person is because they publicly, if they did, would be very angry at the other one. One of our main characters, Pen, has basically jilted Raf's sister. So they don't know the identity of the other person. There is a lot of kind of, as I said, forced proximity scenes, so like sharing a bed and cuddling together for warmth. There is a lot of that. This happens in the dead of winter, this book. It's set in the dead of winter. And it's basically like a journey. They are traveling. They're traveling for most of the book to reach a destination so that Pen is safe, essentially. So I really would recommend this. It is utterly adorable. Like if you're looking for some sweet male love stories, then this is, it has to be on your list. Let me just say that. So utterly adorable. Enough steam, actually. Like there is some steamy scenes in this if you want a little bit more spice in your books, but also this book is just utterly romantic, like very, very heartwarming and swoon worthy, and these two guys are just perfect for each other, and I am so obsessed with them. So I really would recommend One Night in Heartswood if you want something like that's very akin to a classic fairy tale that's a gay love story, and I adored it, so I think you will too. Okay, I have another queer love story for you. It has to be The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. The book that broke my heart, one of my all-time favourite books. This is a mythology retelling of the story of Achilles and Patroclus. And if you know your Greek myth, you may know that Achilles and Patroclus, you know, kind of like, it's basically been alluded to that they had a thing with each other, and this book is basically a love story. It is heartbreaking, adorable, just so lovely to read. So I really would recommend this if you want something a bit more plot heavy. If you like your romances with a doomed love or something like that, you want some emotion in there, this is the perfect book to read for Valentine's Day. Warning, please bring tissues with you when you're reading this, because I was a mess by the final page. But I love the love story here. I love that it's a gay love story, but obviously it's also mixed in with the Greek myth, or with Troy is all in this, and Helen of Sparta. So it's all these characters you know and love, but then a story that you've perhaps never thought of before, which is the love story between Patroclus and Achilles. So absolutely adored this book. I think it is one of the better books that I've read, honestly. Like, this is a mythology retelling at its best, and I think it's perfect to read on Valentine's Day if you haven't already yet. Okay, and my final book recommendation is actually a non-fiction book, and this is a book that will make you feel whole no matter what stage of your life you're in, no matter if you're in a relationship, no matter if you're single, wherever you are this Valentine's Day. Read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Now, I might be a bit basic for recommending this, but I read this as soon as it came out because I love Dolly's journalism, but this is a memoir, but done in a very different way. So basically, it's divided in different sections in terms of the year in Dolly's life that she was when she was kind of writing that section. And basically, this book is told in a very unique way, in the sense that it tells you what Dolly knew about love at 25, at 26, at 27. And it kind of talks you through her years and experiences and kind of ruminations over love and life and having a job and being a woman in your 20s and early 30s at certain parts of your life, and kind of like the complexities of that as well. I think this is super, super special. Obviously, it has been made into a BBC series as well, so you can watch that as well, which I really, really loved how they kind of adapted that. But absolutely obsessed, would recommend this to everyone. And actually, I do have a reread of this whenever I can. It's very comforting and very kind of like wholesome. So if you're kind of like looking for some self-reflection, some introspection this Valentine's Day, if you're getting caught up about the holiday and you're like, you know what, it's a stupid holiday, I don't like Valentine's Day. Yeah, I agree, it can be difficult. I would recommend reading this book. So guys, those are my recommendations for romances you should read this Valentine's Day. No matter where you are, what your situation is, I think hopefully you will find something in every one of those books. Please do leave your recommendations down in the comments below. I can't wait to hear them, and I will see you very soon in my next video. If you did enjoy this video, why not watch one of my romance recommendations videos? I've got videos on fantasy romance, historical romance, lots of romance reads, so please do jump onto one of those next. And I'll see you very soon in my next video, guys. Bye!